Alright everybody, welcome back. My plan initially was to show off a different building in the base, but as you can see the weather is mildly inclement. I've tried to use cheats to change it. I've tried changing the time to a different day. I seem to be stuck in a perpetual storm of sorts, so I apologize for that inconvenience. However, I have a backup plan. We're going to do an indoor tour. I figured I'd just showcase my cellar. I've changed a few things about it, and I think it'd be nice to just focus on it in a little bit more detail than what the base tour and the homestead showcase had to offer. As you can see here, we're at the outside of it. This is the stone, I don't know, protuberance sticking out of the side of the house that functions as the gateway into my cellar system. I'm going to try to make this video as quick as possible without lacking anything. You can see I chiseled an archway. I just like the way that looks. However, it is not replicated on the other side because these doors are in the way, unfortunately. I wish I could put something here to complete the arch, but I will be satisfied with that, I guess. Decorating cellars is kind of a challenge anyway, because you're limited by what blocks are acceptable, and you're limited to a 7 by 7 by 7 size. And not only does it matter if you put wood or stone or dirt or glass or something inside, it also matters how many air blocks are actually available. There's a calculation taking place, and if you start putting tables and stuff in the middle or cutting down or over, the amount of available air blocks that are detected in the cellar changes. And I'm not exactly sure, but somehow that changes the effectiveness of the food preservation. So as you can see when you first come in here, I have this first opening room, which is technically its own cellar, and there's further cellars on the other side of those double doors down there. I have a long history in the food service industry, so first in, first out has been drilled into my brain. So right here is where the stuff to be taking into the house is. There's grains and stuff like that down here. This is where the meals are kept. There are some meals here, but they're in the dark brown. We're trying to phase out and get into a color-coded system. Red foods, or red Crocs, I'm sorry, have the meat, much like Arby's, and then the orange Crocs have vegetables. I wish that there were more color options. I wish you could dye your Crocs and jugs and bowls and get the full spectrum of color for them, because that would make organizing the food a lot easier, in my opinion. These vessels don't get used a whole lot, but they're there. I might change this out for something else, because really these two are sufficient for up here. As our farms continue to produce more, we're going to need more and more space, so I may end up cutting out some slots here to put further storage. But right now it's just this for immediate access, and then it goes down to the staircase where we get into the deeper bits of the cellar. And as you open these double doors, you can see that I have this section and that section. We'll get to those in a second. This right here is what this used to look like, and this was the extent of the cellar. This door wasn't here. This is where I store pickled goods. This is where cured meat is. This is where breads, grains, and flours, and this is vegetables and fruits and things of that nature. Now, like I said, initially these were both like this. You can see how I've kind of cut into it. Kind of has a catacomb-like feel, I would reckon. My intent is, just like how it is now, to be able to cut doorways into both of these and expand them into their own rooms. And technically, although this is now a room for further storing of grains, technically you can put a door right there and then put another cellar on the other side and have a hallway of connected cellars. That way you're never breaking the 7 cube limit, 7 by 7 by 7, but you still have all kinds of different room and different opportunities to chisel and decorate while still, having a working cellar. Different colored vessels are for storing different flavors of grain. I try to chisel some sacks, a stack of sacks here for holding grain, little grain bits. But I wish you could go down one more voxel, but that's as close as I could get. There's probably a better way to go about it. I hope that sells. I'm hoping that with this kind of sells what's going on in here. I got these folding tables a quern that doesn't really get used. It's just in here because it's a grain related product, and for some reason I just felt like there needed to be a bin, and the hopper kind of looks like a bin, and it doesn't require me to chisel anything, and it's metal. So like I said, decorating in a cellar is difficult, but there are ways to do it, and I'm probably going to come back in here and redo this, honestly. The more resources I get access to and the more time I have in the winter during this game, the more chiseling I get done. So I'll probably end up revisiting. I'll come back through here, a little main cellar with some storage, and then this is where we keep the fruits and vegetables. And I decided to make, this is what I'm most proud of down here, one of the most recent changes, is I made this into an ice box of sorts. The thing upstairs is more like a larder, that little cabinet with food in it, because there's no refrigerant, there's no ice, so it's not an ice box, and there's no Freon, so it's not a refrigerator. I guess you could call it a pantry, but I've heard people refer to it as a larder. I'm not really sure what the difference is, but this is more like an ice box. I know there's mods that make this actually functional, but this is purely aesthetic. I did a similar thing in Valheim for our food storage, so I wanted, with the ability to chisel and to take glacier ice, I wanted to do something similar in Vintage Story. So I did this. This is where our vegetables are stored. There's more room over here, but this gives me the feeling that my stuff is kept on ice, and it is going to be even more fresh. I try to have less lights in here than these two, to keep the ambience of having the blue glow with the ice. However, if I drop the light level any lower, drifters start spawning, and I don't want to have to fist fight a motherfucker every time I want to grab a snack from our fridge. So, unfortunately, aesthetic sacrifices must be made. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Ice, technically, is a rock, and lava, or water, is lava. But in this game, I guess that's literally true, because ice, I thought, was one of the blocks that lowers the effectiveness of your cellar. However, I chiseled the fuck out of this ice, put whole ice blocks in here, and it is just as effective, 0.29, as the ones outside. So, as far as I can tell, with my testing, you can make this whole room ice, as long as you have stone and stuff on the outside, and there's no sunlight getting in. Make the whole room ice, have icicles hanging everywhere, make the floor ice, and make a whole ice box or a freezer, and it wouldn't be any less effective than having the whole thing in stone. So just something to keep in mind. If you're ambitious, you got a lot of ice, and you got a lot of time, I would love to see what you do with it. But that's as far as I'm probably going to take that. And as you go in here, this is where the cured meat and the pickled goods are. I plan to, like I said, throw a door in and expand these each way. And as each of these become fuller and fuller, I will probably expand them out further as well. I kind of like doing the arches, just to break up the square feeling that you tend to get from building in a voxel-based game. Now this edition right here is the wine cellar. Close that for now. This is where we store our wines. This is the room where I fill them into jugs and color code them. I really wish that there were more color jugs to match all the different flavors of stuff, but I digress. I also like having my chiseled barrels. I wish the barrels and the shelves and the racks and all that stuff could be made out of the different woods. I like the look of ebony, so I made the barrels out of ebony, and the iron just looks good on that. For some reason, my brain needs to have sideways barrels in a cellar, otherwise it doesn't scream to me that anything's being stored. I'm not sure what type of autism that is, but it plagues me. Vessels for holding the jugs themselves. Try to have it color-coded. I need to actually come through and change these out, because now we have the red and blue and all that. But I want my red wine to be in red jugs, damn it. And so this is the room where I make that happen. You can see I've kind of rounded some of the chiseling, even more so in here than in the other ones. But as you come through these double doors, you can see I have chiseled the wall back and also added something onto this block. So this block space is technically occupied. I was doing it here, but then you kept getting snagged as you entered and exited, so I took those off. But I think it still works. I like having that valve there. You technically wouldn't want to have that there, really, but I think it's nice and it's up and out of the way. Signs throughout here on the different storage vessels, just so I know what's being stored where. Empty jugs and buckets. I didn't know this was in the game, and so I made this one myself. Pretty proud of it. Feel free to check it out and be jealous. But I went ahead and went into creative, and then found that one and threw it down here because I wanted it. I did throw away some wood and stuff to like justify the expenditure to myself because you can't actually go out and steal it. But I'm proud that it's here. I think having that of that size and then my custom one of that size and style adds some variance, and it just looks like this place is, you know, being used to store large amounts of wine, which is like the whole goal. Now you could just come in here, hollow everything out, and just do it wall to wall, chest and everything, but as utilitarian as that is, I don't think it looks as good. So I got fake barrels for fake storage. Really, you could put some crates or something underneath there so that way this actually serves as storage. And I probably will do that at some point. But right now it's just odds and ends like ale, cider, mead, just a place to put them when we get to them. And then here is where more wine, gets stored. These jugs are all empty and stuff. I have wine brewing in, or it's sealed. It's not brewing. It's being made. It's fermenting. I have wine fermenting in the fermenter in the winery. And I'll bring it over here and divvy it out and everything. This doorway is going to eventually lead to the winery, so that way everything is connected to the cellar. But I have not done that yet, so this is kind of the space right now. As you can see here, this pillar looks like it's providing structural support, and I guess, you know, in real life it would be. But this is actually here because I can't get rid of it. Because in my genius, before I had planned to take the wine cellar all the way out here, up above is a chest that I put all my gears and stuff in, and then there's a chute that takes all the way down the vault that's underground. So if I remove these blocks, you're just left with the copper chute in the middle of the room. And I thought about leaving that there as like a pipe for aesthetic, but I didn't really like it. And now having this column in the middle, I have a place to put lights and, you know, throw some more barrels around and also put shelves on. So ended up making use of it. Like I said, I don't ever plan anything out. It's all ad hoc and thrown together. And I just improvise, adapt, and overcome the issues that I present to myself in the future. I'm often mad at past me, but it kind of makes the game fun when you don't plan out your build and you got to make it work anyway. This is my favorite part of the wine cellar. I guess it's where your cellar attendant would be taking his break, maybe tasting some wine. My wife actually chiseled the table and the chair. Very proud of her for that. This is her first furniture chiseling. I think she did really good. I like the ebony log core center there, that chocolate pudding look. I think it adds a nice texture to the table and the seat, and it makes them it's like George Lucas says, it's like poetry. They rhyme. They both have the chocolate pudding on top. I do hate that the bowl hangs over a little bit, but I'll get over it. These look like they should hold wine is why they're up here, even though they can't actually hold any kind of jug or bottle. And God, I wish we could make bottles in this game. Glass blowing would be such a great addition to Vintage Story. I'm sure we'll get there. But for right now, these are just empty wine storage. More wine storage that is empty. And then I chiseled this myself to make it look like there are wine bottles with corks being stored down here. I hope that visually works and communicates that to you guys. Because it's all about the implication. None of this actually does anything. It just has to look like it does something. Fake it till you make it. So I hope I'm faking it just right for you. This is the extension. This is like as far as it extends for the wine cellar, which is like the last stop on it. Until you're on your way out of the cellar, because this actually goes back outdoors. It's like a tunnel underneath the house from that end, where the main kitchen and like all of our resource making happens, and then all the way back out here. This is where cheese and pies are going to be stored. Now, we don't have enough made up right now to actually be storing them in here, but this is where they are going to go. And so if you come out through this door, you can see some more of the same chiseling. It's kind of repetitive. There's a consistency through it, and I kind of felt that that was important. Like I've said before, I like the mud brick. Mixing the dark mud brick with the light mud brick kind of gives me a problem because the bricks are different size, and then you can see the ashlar bricks are even more of a different size than the dark mud brick. So like trying to do a gradient with them doesn't ever really work that well for me. At a distance you can pull it off, but when you start looking close, in my opinion, it looks weird. So I just did most of it in the wall in the ashlar blocks, and then just had mud brick like framing and chiseling and cornering on it, just to, I guess, to frame it out. And plus having it set in like that gives me room to put the shelves, and it also adds depth to the build. Like I said, it's about breaking up the squareness of the squares you're using to build, because all you got is squares. When you build something, it's going to be some form of a square. This game kind of avoids that a little bit because you can chisel, but you're just chiseling squares. So trying to round it off, add some variety to it as much as possible, really goes a long way. But if you get too crazy with it, it just looks like noise. So striking that balance is super important. As you can see, I did limestone cobblestone and limestone drystone, a lighter color on the ceiling, and then I did conglomerate cobble and drystone on the bottom. So these, like, the textures look the same, but the colors are different, and I feel like that makes the floor look dirty and the roof is cleaner. I don't know if that is communicated to you guys, but like that's the logic that I'm operating on when I do this kind of stuff, just to try to give you an insight into that. But you can come right out the cellar, which is, like I said, a tunnel, and on the other side of the house over there is the rest of this. But you come out here, that's the bakery, where the cheese and the pies and some other stuff gets made, and then inside the house is the kitchen, where the main cooking happens. And then over there on the other side of this stuff, over there on the other side of the windmill right there, is the winery. You can't see it, but I want to show you that. I was going to show you that, but I feel like this is not good for it. A bright sunny day would be better. So the next time the weather is permissible, I will be showing the winery to try to tie into the cellar I just showed you. But if you go through this motherfucker, go ahead and run around, it goes right back here. So you can go in there, go underneath the house, go through all the different cellar rooms, and it will just take you right out here. And then the door that I showed you underneath there, here's the column. That's the pipe going down through the column. And then the tunnel is probably right about here, and it runs right past the grist mill. And if you look right there, you can see the ceramic roof of my winery. And so it's all connected to where the food is getting stored. Does that take a lot of time? Yeah. Is it nice to not have to go through a bunch of shit to get back to the cellar? I also kind of dig it. Opening 30 doors to get there is a bit annoying, but something inside my brain tells me that connecting all these together was the move. And I think I'm glad I did it. I haven't regretted it yet. This is not finished by any means. That's something I'm going to have to do. You could technically run that length. I'm not sure what else is going to go down there. Maybe more storage. Like I said before, you can never have enough storage in this game. Now, I had wanted this video to be short and quick, but because it's kind of a deep dive on a specific thing, looks like we're probably right about the usual time frame for these videos. So I apologize for taking away another 20 minutes of your day, but if you stuck around this long, you're greatly appreciated. I haven't really been doing YouTube in the past 5 years, so this has kind of started up again out of nowhere. All the feedback and support has definitely been appreciated, and it's definitely encouraging me to, try to keep doing this stuff. As I've stated before, if there's anything in particular you want to see, just tell me. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going through these builds as I have built them and just kind of show them off. If there's something specific you want me to focus on, like right now, this cellar is technically part of the house. I did show the house, but now I showed the cellar. So if there's anything like that you want to see more specifically, in more detail, let me know, and I can make a video on it. I also made this video one with live commentary versus any kind of post-edited voiceover, or just having music go while I go around and look at stuff. So if you like this format more, which I think some people have said they do, just let me know, and I'll try to stick to this. I feel like I ramble too much, but some people enjoy that. I hate the sound of my own voice, so every time I do this, I feel like I just have to apologize to everybody. But you guys seem to like the builds, so I enjoy showing them off, and I'll keep doing it. Next time this weather's permissible, a little less inclement, I will show the winery. After that, we're probably going to show these farms, because I do want to show off the chiseling and stuff that I did for that. I think that's neat, and I think you guys will enjoy it. Not that I'm actively doing anything with YouTube other than posting the vintage story stuff, but if that is something you're interested in, like, subscribe, all that other, hoo-ha and jazz and all that. It's definitely appreciated. Algorithm these days is super tough, so, trying to keep it up in the trends, in the feed is super crucial to any kind of longevity. I am active on other socials, so if you want to check me out there, you definitely can. But like I said before, this vintage story stuff is kind of new. So there's a lot of other content that has absolutely nothing to do with this game. So if you're wanting vintage story stuff, maybe just stick to YouTube and maybe my Instagram. My TikTok gets a little wild. But feel free to check it out. It might be something up your alley. However, I am definitely not everybody's cup of tea. I will not demand that you take a drink. I've rambled enough. I just keep fucking talking. I'm just gonna shut up. You guys have a good day.